Yeah.
Hola, Senor Andy.
I have missed you so much, Docs. How was your visit, your trip?
Missed you too. Yeah, Maine was good.
Man,
Ate
you
a lot.
kept sending me
You
pictures of lobster rolls and oysters. You know how to
yeah,
drive me nuts. So thank you for
trying to get
that.
you jealous there.
Yeah.
I know
So
how much you love your seafood, so
I love good seafood. So yeah, I almost there were several points where I wanted to start checking airline tickets to fly up and meet you there. But anywho, while you were gone, did you pay attention to anything national news wise? Election? Where you at?
not much. No,
No, is
no.
this
So
one of your
I'm,
typical
I'm
like
coming to you to get the news.
this is a bad place for you to get the news?
Will
Um,
you Walter Cronkite me?
Thank you. I'm here for you. I love it when I talk to you and you'll be like, yeah, nothing's really happened in the last week. And I'm like, so much has happened in the last week. Like, what are you talking about? Not a lot has happened. I've got some fun things just to get out of the way real quick. Did you see the clip of Roseanne Barr that's gone viral?
No.
How Roseanne is like a key figure in our politics today is one of the more hysterical things.
Yeah.
But Tucker Carlson's going around doing these like speaking tours around the U.S. I don't really know what they are. They're shows of some kind. But he had Roseanne on, and she was like pleading with him. She was like, "Tucker, it's real. They really are eating the kids. They're vampires. They're drinking the blood." And like Tucker's face, and at one point she was like, "Stop looking at me like I'm crazy, Tucker," and like just kind of kept going. And like every time she said something like that, the crowd was like, "Yeah, they're killing babies." And
The crowd was going crazy about that.
the crowd was into it. Tucker was the only person you could see in his eyes that he was sitting there like, "Oh shit, like I don't want to be associated with this." But he didn't say anything. He didn't fact check her or stop her. So the
Hmm.
whole Pizzagate, Democrats are eating babies and drinking blood and all that is still alive and well in the far right of the GOP. We had that happen. I think I'm the only person that still watches SNL. Do you pay attention to SNL at all anymore?
Dude, my TV is unplugged. It's been
Okay.
unplugged for, I don't know, 6 months now.
You know, I could fix that for you real easy.
Yeah, I could too. It's sitting in
Yeah.
the corner over there.
Well,
I have no
I'll
interest.
I'll say this. I record SNL every week just to watch Weekend Update because I do like the guys that do Weekend Update. Michael Che and Colin Jost. They're
Yeah,
pretty funny. I like their clips.
totally.
But this week the cold open was they kind of debuted who's going to be playing, Walls and Kamala and anyhow. So we had Andy Samberg as Kamala's husband. Doug, I think is his name. He
Okay.
did all right. We had Jim Gaffigan as Tim Walls, which I think that's going to work out real well. He did a good Tim Walls, but by far, it's a shame they just figured this out. But Dana Carvey, you remember Dana Carvey? He
Uh-huh.
came back as Biden, and let me tell you, he played Biden better than anybody has played Biden. So if you get a
Oh
chance,
shit.
watch that clip. It wasn't kind to Biden, but like it was like, where has this been for the last 4 years? Like Dana Carvey should have been Biden this whole time. So it was good
Hmm.
stuff. And then the only you still don't get back on Twitter, right? You're kind of anti-Twitter
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
X. I don't mean disrespect when I call it Twitter. It's Twitter to me. Like I can't call it X. What do you call a tweet? Like the X version of a tweet. He X'd
An
it or
excretion.
excretion. So Elon, do you remember like back it was the Super Bowl last year? Elon had put out like a tweet, like I think wishing both teams good luck, and Biden did the same. And Biden's tweet had like way more views and retweets than Elon, so he like threw a fit and that night called all his engineers in. Have you ever heard this story?
No.
Oh yeah, so he like threw a fit and called his engineers in. It was like, why does he have more views than me? So they created a special algorithm, and the name of the algorithm is Elon is author. So any Elon tweet you will see, and even if you don't follow him, you're gonna see anything Elon has ever tweeted. Like I don't follow him, and I don't miss a tweet of his.
Okay.
So that's been for the last year, and I guess people have been blocking him left and right. And they're like, I think I've told you this, but there's certain right wing figures that I just see constantly, and it's like I don't follow them or anybody that associates with them. Why am I seeing this? So people have been
Right.
blocking it to get their timeline back to what they want. So as of December 1st, I think it is, Elon is doing away with the block feature on X.
Oh,
Yeah, because he's mad because he's trying to force feed certain stuff down people's throats and they're all blocking it. So no
I
longer will
think
have
that
it.
guy
Yeah.
needs some sleep.
So, and
I
they're
think.
saying what's interesting. I don't know anything about this, but they're saying that the app stores have all kinds of like rules about moderation and whatnot, and the app stores will not support an app that doesn't have a block feature, supposedly. So that'll be a showdown between him and Apple and Android and all that.
Okay. Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the only other,
Elon
oh, go
never
ahead.
bought Twitter. Like, what is he doing? He should have stuck
Supposedly,
to. shit, his cars and his
Yeah.
aircrafts and whatever the hell else he's building.
Well, supposedly the value of Twitter is down to like 12.5 billion now, which he bought it for 44. I don't think he's got so many billions of dollars, and it's not even his money. It's all his, like, he put together like an investment team of Saudis and Russians. So it's not his money. I don't think he really cares.
Oh no, there was actually a really good story on that on I guess NPR maybe, and they were talking about how he put together, but the banks really supported him. He got like five banks together to get the money for Twitter, and now and like the banks will generally buy something like that, and then they'll transfer that loan to somebody else, right? They'll
yeah.
sell that loan at and make a little bit of money, which is a lot of money when you're talking billions, right?
Mhm.
But just a small percentage as opposed to like keep on getting the payments every month or whatever. But it tanked so hard right when he bought it that they didn't have time to sell it. And they're
So they
just like,
got
well,
stuck
we're
with it.
now and now it just keeps tanking and tanking. So these banks are just kind of screwed.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the whole thing was they were talking about how like it just takes away from like the medium and small size businesses taking loans because they've already got all this money invested in Elon's companies.
Yeah, and
So
I don't understand that, but like the first house we bought in Texas, I remember we'd been there for a couple of years and we got a letter that said that like who would say we used Wells Fargo, I can't remember who we used like Wells Fargo to finance our house, and then it was like, yeah, Wells Fargo has sold your mortgage to this other company. And I freaked out. I was like, what happened? I thought, are we gonna get foreclosed on or what's happening? And then my wife was like, no, this happens all the time. And then since then, I laugh. Our mortgage has been sold so often. We'll just get a letter that's like, oh, by the way, now you need to make your payments to this person, this bank, whatever it is. Apparently it happens. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't understand banking. So um the last funny thing, RFK. Remember how I told you there was the whole deal with RFK's first wife where he cheated on her like 37 times in a year and then she committed suicide shortly after that? Do you remember that whole story? So this is just a little fun side comment, but he got caught sexting with a reporter for New York Magazine. Her name's Olivia, and I say it wrong. I think it's Olivia Nuzzi. I say Newsy. Um,
and okay.
Olivia Newsy. She is with New York Mag now. She used to be on like CNN and Fox and MSNBC a lot. Like she was kind of one of those talking heads you always saw. But she got suspended. They're both claiming it was only sexting. Apparently, they were like having video call sex. But
Oh.
she was sent. He had naked photos of her in his phone, and apparently was bragging to everyone that he could about it. And it got back to like her boss at New York Mag. So
Oh.
yeah,
She's
so
cute. How old is she?
31. Which
31.
yeah, for
He's like
31,
eight.
she's doing well. So, but she was engaged to another reporter, Ryan Lizza, who's kind of a prominent talking head, and apparently they are now not engaged anymore because she was sexting with her. RFK, he's got to have some sex appeal. Like I don't really care about any of this. It's just like wow, like this guy,
Have you seen him with his shirt off? The dude's
he's ripped.
ripped.
I always see stuff that he's on steroids. I don't know if that's the case or not, but like, yeah, he's in good shape. Like, you can't deny that.
I
But
think he admitted he does TRT.
testosterone, I think there's a lot of people that do that. So
Yeah.
I'll say
Yeah.
this:
But his wife is also like that super cute actress too.
Cheryl Hines, which yeah, everybody's wondering what her thought is about this sexting, and I don't think she's said anything publicly yet. So
Hmm.
yeah, but anyhow, it makes sense because like a lot of the RFK supporters are like the housewife type, like the stay-at-home mom or working wife, whatever. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, okay, they're really into the food stuff, but I think they're all attracted to him. I think secretly they all think he's hot and that sex appeal. I think there's got to be
Okay.
some of that there. I'm not saying that's the only reason. I'm just saying that's an added bonus. So
And he's a Kennedy. I mean,
power. He's good
power.
looking. He's got a good body. He's got power. So it's just,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for his voice, I'm starting to think that if his voice was normal, he could be president. But his voice is too bad. Like I can't tolerate
Yeah.
it. So
Oh, and he's got good practical jokes too.
as far as like the bear in
Yeah.
Central Park, yeah. Which I don't understand how they're doing this. He's getting investigated for the. Did you hear about the whale head? They had heard that a whale was beached like somewhere near their house. It was at one state away because what he did is he drove with his kids to the beach, sawed off the whale's head. He likes to have skulls of different animals,
Oh
strapped
yeah.
it to the top of their minivan, and then drove home and apparently drove across state lines. And somehow they've opened an event. Apparently, this happened 20 years ago. So this is one of those where it's like, what are you doing? Like, if you didn't catch him in the moment, you don't get to investigate him now. it's just kind of funny that like there's a couple different like stories with him and animal carcasses that he
I
seems to have a thing with animal carcasses. I don't know.
guess a
Um,
whale school would be kind of cool to have.
yeah, I mean, if somebody was selling one, I wouldn't mind having it. But
Now, is
that,
it
that
illegal to take the remains of a whale that's washed up, or is it illegal just to take it across state lines? Is that what's the
from what I saw, the fact that he crossed state lines with it is what's gonna if he might just get a slap on the wrist, but apparently the crossing the state lines was like the thing. So anyhow, that's the funny news over the past couple days. That's stuff that has been making me giggle.
now? Is he still with Trump? Are they still hanging
Yeah,
out?
which
Okay.
I don't think he's even. Remember how he said he was going to keep campaigning in like the 43 states where it wasn't competitive, but in the other seven he was going to encourage people to vote for Trump. He hasn't campaigned for himself at all. He's fully campaigning for Trump right now. Like I don't know why he's still on the ballot in certain states, but as much as I think that's kind of a Bush League move, he can do it. So whatever.
Now, is Trump and Loomer still a thing? Are they
No,
still?
so okay, so Laura Loomer, I guess enough people called Trump, enough like moderate Republicans and told him to get her away. So he distanced from her. I don't think he officially said anything, but the campaign just said, "Oh, she's nothing more than a supporter, and she's not going to be flying with him anymore." And then she went on like a Twitter tirade about how terrible Republicans are for a couple days. Like she was just tweeting about Republican congressmen. She was mad at the moderates that basically broke her and Trump up. So anyhow,
Okay.
she's still supporting Trump. Uh, polls real quick. Everything's gotten tighter after the debate. Kamala was up like 2 to 3 points, and now it's coming back down. So I'm going to bring up polls between here and the election every time we talk because I want you to be ready for it. Trump could still win very easily. Like I'd say I would put it at like 51-49 right now. Like Kamala has a slight edge.
Yeah.
Hear me. This is the average of the last couple polls. Okay, North Carolina, dead heat, which she doesn't need to win North Carolina, but if she could win it, that's fantastic. If she wins it, I think there's no way for Trump to win without North Carolina. But dead heat. Are you familiar with all the stuff with the governor candidate there in North Carolina, the black guy?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I heard about that.
So he is definitely dragging Trump down. Real quick, one of the worst things Trump does, like if you're a Republican that wants him to win, you have to be upset about this. But he keeps endorsing and like basically dragging terrible candidates to the top of the ticket. Like we had Herschel Walker in Georgia was a terrible candidate. This Mark Robinson guy.
Maybe in
There's
Oz.
yeah, Oz in Pennsylvania. There's so many of them that I honestly can't remember. But like they keep losing Senate seats that they should win because Trump they'll be a good candidate and Trump will instead pick some off the wall candidate, and they always seem to be terrible. So Mark
Well,
Robinson went on.
he called this guy the Martin Luther King times two or
He
something.
did, which at the time when he said that on stage, he said, "I told him that," and I couldn't tell if he thought it was a compliment or not. Apparently, he didn't because he's referred to himself as a black Nazi. He thinks they should reinstitute slavery, and if they did, he said he'd buy a couple slaves. He used to go on a porn message board, which apparently, like the email he used or like his username was the same username he used on everything else, so it wasn't hard to find. But the porn, never heard of this one, but it was called like Naked Africa or Nude Africa, something like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he was
Africa.
commenting there frequently, like talking about how much he enjoys transgender porn.
Yeah.
Um,
He was sleeping with his sister's or his wife's
I
sister.
don't think he actually did. I think he talked about it, and he also talked about giving her a golden shower. I think that was some of his comments. I don't think he actually slept with her, but he commented about her a lot. I could be wrong on that.
He talked in detail about like their sexual activity.
Maybe he did. There's so much craziness in this. The weirdest thing, it turns out there was like remember the old school porn stores? Like there was when we were in high school, there was like a porn store over like kind of on the not good side of town, and it was like a cinder block building with no windows. And if you went into there, you thought you and one of our buddies like got followed out of there once, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
we got followed out of there, and then we were in my Jeep, and I had to haul ass down this road because this truck was just like
yeah.
following us. I was like, what is this guy doing? He sped up, and I don't know. We got away from him, but
So apparently there was a place in North Carolina like that, like a porn store like that, and he would come in so often that like first name basis, like he would go to like the back room where there was like a I don't know a peeping tom show or something where a guy can go and have some privacy to do whatever he needs to do, and he would walk
yeah,
in with a large pizza from like a takeout pizza from somewhere and like be like, "Hey guys," and just go to that back room and shut the door and be in there with his large pizza for quite a while, and like
wow.
everybody this wasn't like one person saw him, like the whole crew like, oh, yep, Mark's back, he's got that room back there. So anyhow, North Carolina is tied. It shouldn't be, but if Trump loses that one, it's going to be his own fault because he got a crappy candidate for governor in there. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are jumping ship on that. But again, just tied. Georgia, Trump is +1. Seems like Georgia's not going to be in play. Biden won that, but like even like it's gotten closer, but I think Trump has always had Georgia. So in my mind, I don't see
How
Georgia
did
happening.
Biden win it?
I think 2020 was a special occasion where like more Republicans were willing to cross the line and vote Democrat, whereas
Hmm.
this time I think there's going to be fewer of that crossover. There have been some endorsements recently that we'll talk about in a minute, but
Because
right,
she's a woman, or
I think the fact she's black, I think there was a lot of older moderate Republicans that can look at Joe Biden as an old white guy that they've known forever, and even if you didn't
yeah,
like him, it's Joe. You kind of know what you're going to get with Joe. It's not going to be terrible, but it might not be great. Like but
right.
Kamala is easier to scare people and say she's a communist or a Marxist or whatever.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
yeah.
Arizona, Trump's +1. Again, Arizona's like 6 electoral votes. I wouldn't waste any time or money there if I was the Democrats.
Yeah.
But anyhow, Pennsylvania, she is up 1, which I think that's about as much as she's ever been up. Like Pennsylvania has been the closest state. She's up 1 point there. So not that's margin of error. That's pretty much a tie. Nevada, she's up 2. Doesn't need Nevada, but she is up 2, so take it. She's up 2 in Michigan. Michigan seems like one of the more secure ones. And Wisconsin, she's up 2. So the 3 states she has to win, Wisconsin and Michigan, she's up 2. Pennsylvania, she's up 1. All of that's margin of error. Like she's slightly up, but it just comes down to who shows up on election day. So none of that's easy. Um, and
What's
then
the
just
earliest this election could be called?
it's not going to be called on election day. We can talk about that in a minute, but there's no way that's going to happen. Um,
I think she takes North Carolina and Pennsylvania early.
so we won't find out about Pennsylvania for days. So
Oh,
give me a second. We'll talk about Pennsylvania here in a second. But real quick, everybody's talking Florida and Texas just because they think it'd be funny if Trump lost one of the big states. Right now,
right.
he's up 4 in Florida, which is closer than it should be, but I don't see Trump losing Florida. Up 6 in Texas. I don't so I everybody keeps kind of talking like, wouldn't it be fun to put some money into Florida or Texas? Don't do it. It's not worth the time. It's not going to happen. Um,
Hmm.
Pennsylvania, real quick. Pennsylvania has a law that you cannot start counting the mail-in ballots until you've counted every day of vote. So they have to have on the day of the election. They have people voting all day long. They have to count all those votes, and only once all those are fully counted can they then even start to open the mail-in ballots. This is what
Yep.
caused a problem in 2020. Some states had this law, and since 2020 have rectified it. And like, because Florida has a lot of mail-in ballots. There's so many old people in Florida that vote mail-in, but they, on the day of the election, as soon as voting starts at like 9 a.m., they're allowed to start counting those mail-ins. So a lot of times they have the mail-ins counted before the election day is even over. Pennsylvania could have done it. They didn't even try to fix it. It wasn't even brought up by anybody. So again, mail-in ballots are going to be a big part of the deal. It'll be 2 or 3 days after the election until we know what's going on there. So
He probably gets more mail-in
yes.
than
So,
Trump for sure.
and it's going to be exactly last time Kyle Kalinske went on the Joe Rogan podcast like a week before the election and called it exactly right. He said there's going to be a red mirage on election day where it looks like Trump gets up, and then as the mail-in votes start getting counted, Kamala will come back and we'll kind of see who wins from there. So it's going to be the same thing in a couple of these states, Pennsylvania being one of them. So
Hmm.
Trump's going to do the thing where he's going to get up big on day of voting, and then he's going to say, "Stop the counting, stop the counting." Like you can't count. Then they can't do it. And the governor of Pennsylvania is a Democrat, so they're going to count all the votes. But that one
Okay.
we're not going to find out about. Ooh, you see what Trump is selling now?
Oh, watches.
How much? Do you see how much the watches cost?
$100,000.
A
I was
hundred,
listening to this.
yeah, $100,000 per watch. So this is one of those where Trump's kind of a genius. You have to give Trump props. Like when the time where they said, "Well, you don't pay anything in taxes," and he said, "Yeah, that's because I'm smart." And it's like
Uh-huh.
it's true. Like he didn't cheat on them. He just took advantage of every loophole.
Yeah,
So
well, his accounts are smart.
yeah. So a lot of people are suggesting this. I don't know if this is true, so I'm going to use an allegedly here. But allegedly, this would be a real easy way for him to like basically launder foreign money into campaign contributions because he can sell watches to anybody in the world. So if
Uh,
Saudi Arabia or Egypt or any country wants to buy, give me 100 of
10
your
watches.
watches, yeah, 100 of them at 100,000 a piece, and they buy that from him, that's totally legal. And then he can take his money and he can self-fund his campaign with it. So even if he is doing that, like that's a loophole and he's exploiting it. So you can't really get on him
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, he said they're limited supply. There's only like I want to say he said there's 100 of them.
100 of the $100,000 ones. There's watches as cheap as like 4,000, I think.
Oh, he's got more.
There's
Oh,
different
I
levels of the watches, so
thought.
there are more affordable ones, but there
Uh,
are some that are $100,000 watches. And somebody said that they're made in China. I don't know if that's true or not. That would just be hysterical if that was true. But
huh.
anyhow, yeah. So don't. You should order one. You should just put it on a credit card. It's a good investment. Years from now, you
Yeah,
can sell
great,
it for
great
double.
investment. Great investment. Apparently, it has real gold and diamonds,
And diamonds, okay. So
so it's
I
definitely
think you
worth
should do
more than
it.
$1,000, right?
I mean, it's a matter of what people like. Here's the thing for real, like supply and demand. Like if all 100 of them get bought up right away, you know there's going to be somebody out there that's like, I didn't get my Trump watch. I'll give you 150 for it. Like I can see that. So, and then Trump rallies. Have you been paying attention to Trump's rallies at all over the past 2 days specifically?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so every time, and this happened in 16, happened in 20. If it starts to get to where it looks like he could lose, he starts to get a little desperate. People say he's flailing. I think he just starts to kind of try to throw haymakers, like he's trying to do something big to swing the race.
Okay.
Um, he last night, which I hope you haven't heard this. I want to get your honest reaction. I got home, I went to a carnival type thing with my kid last night, and I got home, and on Twitter, instantly I'm seeing people are saying, "Oh my God, this is the lowest of low points. Like, this is the lowest, worst thing Trump has ever done." And everybody's acting like it's over. Like, the race is over. He just said the thing that's going to cost him. Okay. So I couldn't wait to see this clip. What he
Okay.
basically what he basically said is that Joe Biden became a mentally disabled person after the debate. Kamala was born mentally disabled. He called her mentally disabled a couple times, and then he said, I mean, think about it. You'd have to be mentally disabled to let this happen to our country, basically. Okay. So give him credit for not using the R word because a guy of that age, I would just assume would use the R word, but he was smart enough to not do that. But so
Okay.
I think that's almost par for the course. Like that's not a good. Like I wouldn't want my candidate to say that, but I don't. I think he said so much worse. But everybody, even this morning, people are like, "Oh, like he's done now," and it's like, are you kidding? Like think of all the different things he said on stage. That doesn't. You tell me
No.
if you think that's worse than other things he said. I'm failing to see how that one is so bad. Don't get me wrong. I
No.
don't think it's good. I'm just saying it. If you
Trump
listen
can
to
really say anything he wants. It
100%,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. Yeah. The people who are going to vote for him, they just brush it off as like he's just owning the libs.
I guess. And that's the thing. I don't think there's a single person that's going to vote for Trump that hears that and they go, oh, he crossed the line there. Like, I can't vote for him now. Like, no, like that. If anything, it's probably going to fire up a certain section of his base. But I thought that was funny because, like I said, everybody was acting like that was the lowest point. Like, we've hit rock bottom now. Trump called her mentally disabled. He basically has called her a whore. Like, he hasn't flat out said that, but the whole her sleeping her way to the top and all that. So,
Yeah.
anyhow. Um, oh, the other thing. Did you hear about his? Have you ever seen the movie The Purge?
No.
Okay, so this just happened earlier today, but he was talking about crime and how crime's gotten so far out of control. He loves to point out that in California, you can steal like $950 worth of stuff and it's not a felony, but if you steal like $951, it becomes a felony. And he keeps
Hmm.
pointing at California. Every state has that law. Texas is actually higher than California. Texas is
Oh.
like over 1,000. So the threshold to become a felony is higher in Texas than California, but he'll never say that. He never points that out. But he was
Hmm.
saying, he said today, and I almost, this is one of those where I wish we could have played the video. But he said that we could get this all straightened out. The problem is we can't let cops really do what they need to do. And by that, he means rough people up. So he
Yeah.
said, and I wrote this quote down, he said, we could fix it all with one really violent day, or maybe just one really, really violent hour where we just let the cops do what they got to do. And then after that, it'll be fixed. It's kind of the purge. Like I could be incorrect, but I think he's suggesting we have a purge. So one day, let's just let the cops beat the fuck out of all the bad guys, and then things will
Okay.
be fixed. That's
But
his
how are
plan.
the cops catching the bad guys? Like
He
in
didn't
the
specify.
act at the Walgreens or whatever.
He didn't. He said word will get around. So I guess whoever's dumb enough to break the law that day will get beaten and abused by the cops, whatever you want to say it. And then word will spread that hey, you can't steal anymore. The cops will beat your ass. and people will
Oh,
stop. That's his plan to deal with crime right now. Okay.
oh, that's his
Yeah.
plan.
Let's just let the cops
Okay.
do what needs to be done. That's another one of
Doesn't
those things where I hear him say that, and I'm like, he's losing his mind. But then you hear, like, when you hear the quote, if you see the video of this, like, as he said it, the crowd went nuts. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean the crowd, the people that go to his rallies aren't the brightest of individuals.
there, and there's limited people going to his rallies now. They've been showing the venues he's using now. He was having trouble filling the bigger venues, so now he's doing like you almost would call it a room. Like it's not really a venue. Like he's doing rooms for like 1,000 people, and he did one in Erie, Pennsylvania, yesterday or today, and he was doing his thing on stage where he's like, "We only have 1,000 people in here because they wouldn't let us have more in here, but there's 40 or 50,000 people outside." There, spoiler alert, there were cameras outside. There were not 40 or 50,000 people outside trying to
Yeah,
get in, but he had
of
roughly a
course.
thousand people. He also pointed out at his rally yesterday, he was like, "Oh, they say that people are leaving my rallies early. All these people you see leaving right now, they're not really leaving. They're just going out to get in line to get a picture with me after this. So if you see people leaving like these people, don't believe the news. They're not leaving. They're going out to get in line." And afterward, everybody was like, he doesn't take pictures with his fans. Like he does. Can you see him going out there and standing and working a line to do pictures? If that happened, you would see that. You would see those pictures on Twitter and whatnot. That does not happen. So
Oh my
flailing a little
gosh.
bit. Yeah. So, but again, he's basically 50-50 right now, poll wise. So all the crazy shit, that's where we're at.
When was his last big rally? Like, had he had any decent sized rallies, or is he just kind of?
This weekend, they were all small. I'm going to say under 5,000, which he's changed the landscape for political rallies. Like a rally of 2,000 people all the way up till the time of Trump was a good sized rally. Like in the
Yeah.
days of Trump now, we've judged it on a different scale. Kamala packed out Las Vegas tonight. It was a big arena. I don't know how many people, but it was packed. Trump had the 1,000 people in Erie today. He is going back, and I don't remember the date, but it's coming up soon. He's going back to the site of the first assassination attempt, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and he's going to give a
Uh-huh.
speech at that exact same place. And I guess like a defiant return, like kind of going for those vibes. So
Okay.
I think that'll be a big one. I think that will get people to come out from all across that, what do they call that, like the tri-state area. But I think he'll get a big gathering for that. So
Do you think they're going to have another debate?
no, I think that no, absolutely not. I think apparently Fox News, Brett Baer on Fox News came out and he was on like the Hugh Hewitt radio show or some other Republicans radio show. And he said that it's not the Kamala Harris campaign that's saying no. They said she'll do a Fox debate. It's Trump that's
Yeah.
saying no. He will not do it. So she even apparently has agreed to go on Fox and he's like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's funny because after the Biden debate, he immediately came out and said, "I want to do another debate. I'm ready for the next one." And now he's saying that Kamala, because she lost that one, she wants to do another one.
mhm.
But it's like the complete opposite of what he did at the last one.
He's still trying to claim he beat her so bad in the first debate, and that's why. Even it's been funny. Real quick, I've been thinking about this for a while. I've told you Trump is doing a good job where they're hitting like the podcast circuit, like the 18 to 35-year-old white male is somebody that they don't show up to vote basically, and he's trying to go after those people. So that's smart.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of wish that maybe Kamala, maybe Walls, like somebody will start to go out on these podcasts. Have you seen Mark Cuban making the rounds?
Oh yeah, Mark Cuban is.
Dude,
I think we talked about him last time, didn't we?
we
I'm
talked
all
about
about
him
Mark Cuban.
we talked about something else with him though, but since then he's gone on Theo Vaughn, he's gone on Shannon Sharp, he's gone on I can't name them all. He's been everywhere I go. He is on a podcast and he is
Yeah.
doing a great job of making the case. Like he should be an official campaign surrogate for Kamala. Like he's
Well,
doing,
he
and he's
wants
not
that
a
SEC, he wants that chair of the SEC.
probably, yeah. I want to say it again. Which one?
The SEC, right?
SEC. Okay, just make sure we had it right. What does that stand for again?
Securities Exchange Commission.
Way to go, buddy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. But yeah, no.
So that debate, the next debate is on the first.
So that's in Tuesday night, not tomorrow, but the next day is Walls versus JD Vance.
We should figure out how to live stream us watching that.
I'd rather go on right afterward. I think it'd be fun to get our initial take before, because that's the big thing. I want to get our take before we get a chance to read how everybody tells us we should have felt about it. Like that's
Okay, I'll put
jump
it.
on right
Yeah,
now.
let's do that.
So, and then the only other stuff, how much time we got here? We're under 8 minutes to go. Kamala Harris released an 82-page economic plan. Have you gotten to read this at all?
No,
So
that's
I have kind of skimmed through it. It's very detailed, and then it's on her website, and I love it because you can like whatever her main point is, you click on it, and there's a drop down, and then there's drop downs within that. So she almost way overdid the level of detail. You know, everybody was saying she's being too vague. She did too much
hmm
detail where I don't want to read it all. It's one of those where it's like she flooded it with information. So at
Maybe
this
she should
point,
have a layman's version of it, just a quick read.
possibly. Possibly, but I'll just say this at this point, anybody who says like, well, I would vote for Kamala, I just think she needs to give me more detail. It's out there. So if that's your thing, if you still don't want to vote for her, that's fine. If you think Trump's gonna be better, I'm not gonna be mad at you. But quit saying it's because she hasn't been detailed enough with what she's gonna do. Now she's laid it out there. Her campaign page now is making Trump's look pretty funny. Trump still has his 20 promises to America. So one of his promises, I'm going to unite the country. Just there. That
So,
no
yeah,
detail. Trump is going to
he's
unite
the
us.
great uniter in chief, obviously.
Yeah. And then real quick, your boy Willie Nelson came out and endorsed Kamala, which I figured is a given, but everybody's acting like that
Oh,
was a shock. And then
okay.
Jeff Flake. Jeff Flake is one of the last Republicans I really liked. Like him and Ben Sass were senators that were good Republicans that weren't going to kiss Trump's ass and weren't afraid to say when he did something stupid. They both got run out of town. Jeff Flake came out and endorsed Kamala today. I still don't think that's going to move too many people, but
Hmm.
she's got a big list. There's a lot of Republicans that have endorsed her. Trump has Tulsi and RFK. Can't think if I'm missing anybody else, but
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
she's a Republican. I'm trying to think of Democrats that have crossed the line. Can't think of any. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but Tulsi's not really a Democrat.
Tulsi hasn't been a Democrat since like 17 roughly, but she can call herself a Democrat. I don't care. Like if she thinks she's been hosting shows on Fox News for the past 4 or 5 years.
Huh.
Yeah, have you not seen that? Like for a while when Tucker was still on the air there, like if he would go on vacation, Tulsi was guest hosting Tucker Carlson's show and like still claiming to be a Democrat. It was very funny to me.
Oh, I have seen her on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me. I'm gonna try an experiment.
Okay.
I'm only gonna watch right-wing news
We
and
did
listen
this
to
a couple
what
of years ago. Do you remember when we did this, or did you do it with me?
I don't think I did it with you.
Oh, dude, do you remember? Like, I did this 3 or 4 years ago where I listened to. So this was when Rush Limbaugh was still alive because I made sure to listen to Rush Limbaugh every day, and I could only watch Fox News. Newsmax and OAN weren't really a thing back there, so it was Fox News. It was Rush Limbaugh. I can't think who else I was listening to. For like 2 straight weeks. I only like listened to right wing stuff, and at the end of it, I was like, oh shit! I was like, Trump has had a pretty error free 2 weeks. Like he hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't made anything up. And then like I flipped back over to like mainstream media, and I was like, oh, I just missed it all. Like they just that's when I learned that they just don't cover it. If you only watch like right wing stuff, that's why if you ever go up to somebody and be like, oh, did you see where Trump lied about the blah blah blah? And they'll say, no, he didn't. You're making that up. Like they're not lying. They've been watching the news and they haven't seen shit about that, and they think that
Right.
they truly think you're making it up. Because if that really happened, I would have seen it. I've been paying attention. It's like no, they're not showing you the dumb stuff he does. So if you should do the experiment, but that's exactly how it's going to come out. At the end, you're just going to go, wow, the Democrats keep screwing up and the Republicans haven't made a mistake. That's
I mean, I listened to it enough to just know that everything they say is bullshit. So it's gonna be an
oh,
interesting
I would say it's not that everything they say is bullshit. They just lie through omission. They only talk about the things that work out well for them, and they don't talk about the things. And there are left wing like YouTube channels or even MSNBC who do the same thing. Like so, it's not just a right wing thing. If you follow some far left type content, you're getting the same thing just in reverse. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, what else you got?
that's all I got, man. I'm excited for the VP debate. I think we should go live as soon as it's over. That's Tuesday night. Um,
Sounds good.
VP debates never move the needle at all. So unless one of them really screws up, this is just going to be for us to talk about. Like I don't think that polls
What
will
time's that debate?
probably 8 o'clock, something like that.
Okay.
So
I have a
yeah,
shoot until 6 or 7 that night, but I'll watch it and then we'll record.
I'm down. So yeah, that's all I got for you. You got anything else?
No, no, nothing
Okay.
else, man.
Well, you got a night off Tuesday night. We reconvene. We talk about how Walls and Vance did.
I can't wait. I'm actually kind of excited about that because I think
debate.
Wall destroy him.
Real quick, Vivek Ramaswamy, who I'm not a huge fan of, but he actually went to Springfield, Ohio, like 5 days ago, and like
Wow.
met with local people and this and that. And when he was getting done and kind of wrapping up, he gave a press conference, and he did say, he said, "Well, he said I've talked to a lot of people here, and I've seen no evidence that the dogs and cats are getting eaten." So but he did. He said that obviously there's an influx of 25,000 people to this community, so they're facing challenges because of that. And I get that totally. Like that's not a lie. Like if you add 20, which I think the number, it's one of those when Trump gives numbers, like I think it's supposed to be like 15,000 migrants got shipped in. And then when Trump first started saying it, he was like 15. Some people say it could be 20. And then like every time he
Yeah.
retold the story, he's like, could be 25 or 30. And like now
Yeah.
you've got people being like, it's 30,000, right? And it's like, no, it's 15. Trump keeps moving the number. Whatever it is, if you put any influx of people that big into a community, like there's going to be a strain on the resources of that community.
But
So
they brought him in to fill positions, right? Because
yeah,
they had like
the two factories that are in town, whatever the two factories are, they claim they're great workers, and so. But I have respect because Vivek could have gone there and just been like, I don't know, they might be eating cats and dogs, but he kind of cleared that up to a degree. So
good,
good
good.
on Vivek. So
Yeah. Is that the
yeah,
first good thing he's ever done?
no, I mean, in the last 2 or 3 years, he's kind of I don't know, thrown himself at Trump's feet. Like up till then, like he wrote a couple books. Like he was very critical of 2020 Trump, like the election denialism, the January 6th stuff. Like he was
It
critical of all
was.
that. But then at a certain point, he realized, like, I'm an Indian dude that if I start, you know, being a pro-Trump guy, like I'm gonna rise right to the top. Like I think it was a very calculated move for how he could become famous, and it's working. So good for him.
What he's a billionaire, right? Vivek?
Millionaire. I don't know about billionaire.
Okay. I
Yeah.
don't remember what his business was, but
Something in medicine. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Drug
Yeah.
manufacturing, something like that. So anyhow,
All
so
right.
good
Well,
on him.
it's about to stop out on us.
All right, man. Talk to you later, buddy.
All right, late.